Hi, hello, watch fans, and welcome to another edition of the Real Time Show with me, your friendly neighborhood watchmaker, Rob Nuds, our friendly neighborhood jeweler, Alon Ben Joseph, and Julien from Breva, Geneve. Nice to have you in the glass igloo.
Yeah, thank you guys to welcome you.
How are you finding the climate in our little bubble?
It's very cool. It's very cool. I'm so happy to be with you.
But he's not talking about the temperature, though.
No, it's quite okay. You know, it doesn't change anything for me because from here or the other side, it's the same.
Of course, because you're in the greenhouse, the glass
Exactly.
box on the edge of Villa Sarasan, which is a great place to show because of the natural light that floods in.
It's my old garden, yes.
It is wonderful, and it reveals your new timepieces in a perfect light, so people can really appreciate the depth and the complexity of these watches. Tell us more about the Breva project.
Yes, sure. So Breva was born in 2010. It was very well known at this stage because the brand launched a complication barometer altimeter for the wrists. So it was something really crazy and amazing. Unfortunately, the brand was died in 2015. So during almost 10 years, nothing happened. And when I stopped and finished with HYT, was my last job, I decided to launch something for my own. So Breva was something I always keep in mind, because I met the founder in 2010, and Breva, the name and the concept, the DNA was really cool. So for me, it was just natural to come back to Breva and try to do something with it. So I started to work on it 2 years ago now. And we keep the DNA of the brand. So born in Como Lake in Italy. So the storytelling is just incredible. You imagine river on the lake, sunset, Fritz, Dolce Vita, everything is in. And of course, in terms of product, we launched something really cool, really special. Come back with Jean-François Meujon for the movement.
Mm-hmm.
We developed a Power Reserve 7 days based on the C101 movement. And we split the Power Reserve in two different indicators. You have a first part indicates the first 6 days, and when you arrive at 1 day, the second hand start to indicate the last 24 hours. So it's something really clever, very smart to know if you still have energy in your watch or not.
You've described the function perfectly, but for our listeners who may not have seen this watch, because it's very striking and it sticks out from the crowd, could you describe the aesthetics and how a Breva is instantly identifiable?
You mean by the design or the dial or something?
By the hands more than anything.
The hands, okay, the hands. So yes, we decided to have a real signature for the dial, because today it's not only to create a watch, it's to find a good way to make a real signature and a real DNA on the watch. So first, I decided to launch a cushion case, not a round case. Cushion for me is something really elegant. I love so much different cushion case from the market, from some brand, Radio Mir Panerai, yes, and Laurent Ferrier. So for me, it was clear it should be a cushion case to start. And after that, inspired by instrument of time to measure time or weather or what you want. And really interesting to see in the past how the dial of this instrument was displayed, in fact, with very nice hands, color, material. It was really nice finishing. So I tried to keep this on the product, on the design. Yeah.
It really does stand out. There's nothing quite like it. The level of finishing on this piece is incredible. And I think it more than justifies the price point, which we should talk about now.
Yep.
What are we looking at for the basic model?
So we started with a titanium version, 46,000 Swiss francs, excluding taxes. But in terms of finishing for us, it's a real piece for collectors with a lot of details, subtle details inside the dial. We have, of course, engraving, miniature painting, we have applique, we have many things that your dial is living. So we have a deep blue brush satin vertical by hands. You feel like on the Como Lake, it depends of you oriented your watch with the sun, with the bright. It's just amazing. So for us, it was important to provide to the customer something really special on the wrist with really a lot of details. The same for dial, and not only the movement, the dial is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the most important.
Yeah, to be fair, you're probably right. I think recently there was a poll conducted as the main factor in purchasing decisions amongst consumers, and the dial does always come out on top. It's interesting, of course, because you can't have a dial without a case.
Yep.
Of course, you can have a case without a dial, but that's not my kind of watch to begin with. But it's a whole concept, and I think that you've realized it perfectly. Everything harmonizes so nicely. Question is, do you have a multi-year product plan ahead of you for how Breva's going to evolve and develop and take it in new directions?
You know, I'm in the watch industry since 20 years now. So when I decided to relaunch Breva, it's not only a product. It's a question of storytelling, people behind the brand, behind the product itself. I mean, I have a team with Jean-François Mejean from Chronode, Cadranor for the dial, Aurélien Beucher for the case. So meaning that I have really good people behind. So for me, it's a clear vision until, let's say, 230. So it's product plan for 5 years.
Very good.
So
What a super team. What a super team behind you there.
Yeah. I'm a lucky guy. Because when I started to present my project, they said, okay, I want to be in. Sure.
And that means a lot, because maybe people listening to the show aren't aware Chronode has been approached by pretty much every brand under the sun over the last 5 years as their work became better known outside of closed watchmaking circles. And the same can be said, of course, for AB Concepts with Aurélien Beucher, because his work is peerless, second to none. I would say, in fact, he worked on the early versions of the watch I'm wearing on my wrist right now, I believe, because I saw the 3D print of it in his office when I was there recently, and I think he wears one himself. I've got a L'Aventure Transatlantique 2 on my wrist, by the way, so, you know, these things filter throughout the industry. The quality finds it at the right places and the right partners. I want to know if you have any retail partners in the world.
Yes, in fact, my strategy is as follows. I launched a limited edition of 25 pieces rose gold. You saw yesterday. And these pieces is dedicated for more collectors people. And now we decided to launch titanium version with different color dial. And this collection is dedicated for the market.
Okay.
So since we are here since Tuesday morning, I met a lot of people, retailer, agent, distributor, and I can feel that there is a little bit excitement around the brand and the product itself. So we already have a discussion to open some retailers, of course, in Asia, US, Middle East start next tomorrow or after tomorrow. But yes, we open already some markets, I will say, for the coming months. Yeah.
I want to compliment you on your marketing, because as press started receiving the teasers many weeks ago, and I got excited because I vividly remember the first Breva, which were the Geneve series 01, 02, 03. And so I'm like, ooh, could this be because I found them more, not tool-esque watches, but more as an instrument panel-ish display where you had half skeletonization and overlay of subdials. So I was very curious where you took it. I, in a positive sense, was surprised when I got the embargoed pictures as press. Very elegant, because you start teasing with a river boat and Lake Como.
Yeah.
And when I saw you yesterday, I kid around that I'm 100% sure you were the model, because you look very healthily tanned, as if you come back from Lake Como.
Of course, I spend my time on my river in Como Lake, of course. Sure.
So, and I kid around that I congratulated you on your entrepreneurship. Because after fulfilling key positions in the watchmaking industry, and we just did a run down memory lane, and probably you and I worked together at Ebel with the two Flying Dutchmen at the helm back then. So you've been around, and I have two questions. The first one on product level as a segue is, did you immediately knew when you bought the brand, because it was dormant, right? You didn't buy a going concern.
Yeah, sure.
So dormant, did you immediately know, I need a style break, I'm going to do something different? Or was it an option to keep the heritage of what was out there?
A really, really good question, Alan. In fact, I will be fully honest with you. as a marketing guy, I was more on, okay, I will relaunch the weather forecast watch. And I say, okay, it's cool, but it's expensive. Today's market is different. And finally, I decided to say, okay, in any case, I have to develop another collection. And my strategy was to launch a new version of the weather and after to come with a second collection. And after a while, I said, no, I'm wrong because I'm not a marketing guy. I'm just my own entrepreneur. So I have to propose something else on the market. And I come back with a not new storytelling, but it was never used before. It's Italy, Como Lake, elegance, exclusivity, luxury, and so on. So the design was done in 10 days. Imagine, I make my brief. I went to Fabrice Gonnet, Edge Design. I told him, okay, this is my brief. What do you think? He looked at me and said, I know. 10 days after, I have the first draft of the design.
Cool. If only everything moves so quickly in watchmaking. Could you imagine?
Yeah, because when everything is aligned, it's clear. And the story, the product, the message, everything is right, in fact.
How do you feel about the timing of it all, though? Because, we're coming out of some pretty dark, tumultuous years in the industry, and it's projected there's a couple more to go. But maybe now is the time to get in. What do you think?
That's the best time to do things.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
Because when it's crisis, when something is difficult, if I'm successful in this kind of period, for me, it's great after.
Of course.
And people need to find something different. And of course, it's a risk. I put all my own money on the table to do that.
Crazy.
But I'm confident because I know where I'm going. And I think the first feedback that I received since 3 days, it's just saying, okay, I'm right.
Yeah.
To link to what you said, Rob, in this down cycle, let's call it, is it also an added benefit that you have more production capacity with these rock star manufacturers?
Yeah.
Is that an unplanned benefit? Because in the hot cycle of things, there's waiting lists also in production.
Yeah.
Or you say my network was good enough, I had the access anyways.
Yeah, I will say I think the network is good enough. And the project itself, I'm not in a big quantity. My goal is to have 200 pieces per year. And maybe, let's say, 300 maximum. So it's more about the project, the motivation they have. Of course, it's a risk in terms of money on my side, but it's much, much risky on the other side with the volume and quantity.
Yeah, you're right, because of course they have so many options. They can pick and choose the projects they want, and to have them, people that know exactly what they're doing, exactly what they're looking at on side is just an incredible way to get started. So future's bright, right? The future is Breva.
I think yes. I have the win with me, so should be okay. Should be okay. Confident.
Hypothetical question would be, you wouldn't have started with a non-complicated watch, as looking at the heritage of Breva.
Mm-hmm.
The pipeline now, are you going to move upmarket in the years, or would there be a simpler, in air quotes, three-handers, for example, or small seconds, or...
I started with, I'm not fully agree when we say it's simple complication, because in fact, to split the power reserve is not so simple. And it was for me exactly what I want to do with my product. It's a complication, not too complicated to produce. Reason why I use the movement C101 from Majon from 10 years now. It's stable, it's fiable. So I start with product for the coming 3 years. I have to install the brand first. I don't want to make the mistake after 1 year, I have to change. I have to develop something new because it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
So my product plan is pretty clear. I come with this first complication. I start in 2 years a new high-end complication, meaning something like the weather some years ago. But it takes 2 or 3 years of development. And between that, the goal for me in product is to reinterpret some I would say, complication, chronograph, phase de lune, we can imagine a grand date and so on. But in a way, like we did with a power reserve.
And I stand corrected. I didn't mean the current one is simple. I meant, would you gear back to non-complicated ones?
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, okay. No.
This one is fantastic, very complicated, but elegant.
Yeah.
Complicated often has a correlation to unreadable.
Yeah.
And this is very legible.
Yeah.
So I meant that.
No, I don't want to come back in a simple. I don't think so, because I'm entering a very huge and massive market with the three hands and so on. If I do that, probably I will do something special with these three hands, to say three hands, for example. So something never seen before.
Oh, I love that. What a soundbite upon which to end.
But with Jean-François Mojon, we meet each other quite often, and we speak a lot, and we share ideas. And I can tell you, we have many ideas for many things. So even the three hands, it will be not a three hands. It will be something different with the three hands. Yeah.
I can very well imagine, or I guess the point is I really can't imagine, and that's the exciting part of it. Julien, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for you. Thanks to you.
Thanks for bringing this brand back to life, back to our attention, back to the world, and to Time to Watchers. Wish you a great end to a wonderful fair.
Congratulations. Good luck.
Thank you, guys.
Well, that was unexpected. Honestly, I have to say, Breva was not a brand that I had at the top of my head when I got here to Geneva and looked around the Villa Saracen on the first day as everything was setting up. I saw it and I was like, oh, interesting. That'll be a fun interview. Of course, it's always great to talk to Julien, and there's a man that's got a huge amount of experience and has been in many lofty positions around the industry in the past, and now is staring down a difficult challenge of starting or restarting a very high-end brand in this climate. I mean, we said off air, didn't we, Alon, that like at least the brand is high-end enough to stand a good chance. I think if it finds the right market and it gets the traction that it needs in the early days, there's potential for it to become just another brand that we take for granted existing in the industry, but it's never easy, is it? Never easy to start something like that.
Well said. Julien is an old friend. The last title he had was at HYT. He has the pedigree. He's worked all his life in watchmaking and mostly horlogerie. I was very surprised in a positive sense to get the press releases before the fair. And I was very excited to see them in the metal. Breva, I think, was originally launched in 2013 in Basel World. I remember it vividly. They had like a barometer and very technical. Unfortunately, they didn't have a long life. Julien did an interesting thing. He took it less tool watch-esque and made it more elegant, cushy-shaped case. He linked it to Lake Como, so Riva boats, more lifestyle. It's more about La Dolce Vita. They're two retrograde hands that look like crossing swords. Very interesting, slim, very high-end, but it does give you that luxury feel. I was very surprised in a positive sense. I really liked it. And I'm very critical if we need more watch brands, and especially those that are at the right end of the high-end spectrum. But this is a watch that, in my humble opinion, deserves a warm welcome.
Yeah, it does, and it got one. I mean, it was a brand, like I said, that I didn't go there thinking about, but left very enthused about. And I heard the same from everybody that saw the watches. Everybody that was passing by the booth came away with the same impression. Like, these are incredibly done, like beautifully made, gorgeous finishing, nice little aesthetic quirks as well. I love the hands, like the crossed hands at 6 o'clock. I think that's such an unusual look, such an incredible thing to build a brand around almost. And yeah, it's a cushion shaped case, and obviously that in itself is not remarkable, but there aren't as many of them as we think, are there? I mean, it has got a very Panerai-esque silhouette, to be fair. The lugs are somewhere
between a Radiomir and a Luminor. They're obviously not wire lugs, but they're much slimmer than the Luminor lugs. And I think it's very elegant. It wears extremely well. The proportions of everything, the crown in particular, the lovely thin bezel given the full space to the dial aperture and that dome crystal is all handled masterfully. I think that it will have success. The price point is around 60,000 francs before taxes.
No, we saw 2 pieces and limited indeed to 25. You're right. It's 58,000 Swiss francs ex taxes. What I loved about what he does, he took it the MBNF style, focusing on the F of friends. He's very transparent who he works with, and he took the top of the top. So if I remember correctly, he worked with Jean-François Mongeon from Chronode for the caliber, worked with Edge Design on the designs of things. I think Cadran was the dial maker. In case I don't remember, but very, very high end. And he takes things very serious and qualitative. So I think that he was one of the anchor exhibitors at Time to Watch. I think he created a lot of traffic for the fair that people wanted to come see it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the, if not the highest end brand showing at Villa Saracen. And I don't think that Breva would have really worked at Time to Watches in the past at Hedge Geneve. I don't think that was the right environment for it, but they had like the apex position in the conservatory of the villa, which was a beautiful environment. And I think totally fitting and worthy of a brand that has such a luxury vibe to it. I mean, I do love the Lake Como stuff. I think it kind of works, with the marine blue dial and this, well, yeah, you've got the rose gold option. We think there's a white gold option as well, right? But I can't see it on the website. I'm sure there was one that we saw in real life.
I think so too, but we had a lot of whiskey with Julian while recording. So,
hey, I didn't touch a drop. Don't paint me with the same brush here.
Yeah, until I left.
Yeah, until you left. Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, lovely time. If you haven't discovered the watches yet, we kindly invite you to give it a look. I'm quite sure you'll just enjoy the visual effects on your eyes by studying it.
I would guess, by the way, just because we've been through the Movement Maker and obviously Julien's background, I'm going to guess that the case is probably AB Concepts, because if you're going to go high end, you got to go there. Like, that's where all the best cases are made in the industry. Okay, that's a controversial statement, but certainly a lot of the best cases are made there. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's who's behind this, but we can check that and confirm that when we get Julien on the show for a full hour, because we need to get him on, don't we? He's a great guy and, a legend in the industry. And hopefully this is going to establish that legend even further.
Amen.